Being healthy can feel like really hard work, can't it? We only have to look at the amount of New Year's resolutions that are broken by the end of January to realise that forming new and better healthy habits can be really, really challenging for us. Changing the way we do things, the way we act, the person that we are, is quite a big task. But I believe there are some basic principles and basic habits that you can begin to implement in your life that really just give you the foundation you need to grow. They give you the foundation that helps you to transform from a place of struggling to build consistency, of building habits, to a place where you feel like you have energy again. You're making progress, you have momentum. You see, this time last year, I was in a really bad spot myself. I'd been neglecting my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, and it had really taken its toll on me. In fact, I had to take a month off work because I was just so burnt out, so stressed out that I was a broken person. And the habits that I'm going to share with you today are really the building blocks that helped me to go from this place of burnout to building myself into a much happier, healthier, more peaceful and content version of myself. And I want the same for you. I want you to be able to find that enjoyment back in life again. So the first habit that I really focused on was my body, getting my physical health back in check. And this came in two forms, really. The first of those was to get some form of daily exercise back into my life. Now I know what you're thinking. Daily exercise? God, that sounds like a stretch. That sounds like too much. Well, I only did about 5 minutes of exercise per day. I would go out into my garage where I've got a pull-up bar and I would just knock out about 10 pull-ups, 20 push-ups and 30 bodyweight squats. Now, I used to rock climb for years and I've been in and out of the gym for probably the best part of my adult life. So I built up to, being able to do a reasonable amount of pull-ups. So it doesn't have to be, your 10 pull-ups if you're not there yet, but something manageable for you. And I found that just this consistency of doing something very small for my body, my physical health every day, really started to compound over time. It wasn't so much that my body changed, although it did. I found it easier to do the push-ups and pull-ups. I did notice some muscle growth and some increased definition. But that really wasn't the main benefit I got from it. The main benefit I got was noticing that my mental state was clearer. I felt better about myself. My self-worth was improving. And so just by doing that little 5 minutes a day, I learned a very valuable lesson. That we don't have to go all in on something. We don't need to dedicate hours per day into improving ourselves and bettering ourselves. Actually, some quite small actions over the course of a longer period of time, done consistently, done well, can really, really transform you. And so I then started to apply this principle to my mental state as well, my mind. And I realised that I had spent a lot of time consuming social media, video games, some not so good stuff on the internet. And I really found that it had numbed me, it drained me, and that, I was quite addicted to this instant dopamine. So I realised I needed to change how I was feeding my mind too. And so I implemented another very simple habit. 5 minutes a day of reading. Now, this naturally over time grew into about 15 minutes to half an hour a day because I realised the benefit I was getting from reading, how much I was enjoying it, and how much it was filling me up. But to start with, just 5 minutes a day, I found to be a very, very valuable use of my time. And it made me realise that some of the books that I was reading, some of the self-help that I was doing at the time, suggested journaling too. And I found that for my emotions, for my heart, as I like to call it, there is really no better way of dealing with my emotions than journaling. Now, I've been through therapy before, and I actually had some at this period in my life too, but it has great value, and I got an awful lot from it. But actually journaling as a very simple and accessible, easy way to do a bit of self-therapy as well. It helps me to process my thoughts, and I know it can do the same for you. Again, just 5 minutes a day of stream of consciousness writing into a journal. Whatever's on your mind, whatever you're perhaps struggling with at the point that you write, or maybe you've got a really great day ahead, or had a really good day when you're journaling. Put that in there as well. It's great to look back and reflect on these positive memories. So I'd formed this kind of little trio of body, mind and heart that was really helping me to just build my life back up. But the real and most important one that I found was the spiritual side of my life. You see, at this time I had come back to my faith in God, my faith in Jesus, and started reading the Bible again. I was brought up in a Christian household, but had gone away from it for years. And actually coming back to that, I felt so grounded and so peaceful. It was like unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. And so I really started to dedicate myself into this spiritual side of my life as well. And again, I started to build up a very simple 5-minute daily habit. I would pray for 5 minutes a day. And this over time really started to benefit me, and I felt, as I said, just so peaceful and grounded. Now, you may not have faith, and that's okay. There are other ways that you can, start to tap into this spiritual side of yourself a bit more, perhaps meditation or breath work. Both of those have great benefits, and I do them alongside prayer. But I found that prayer is just the best of those. And then I took some time to kind of look at some of the other things that I was perhaps neglecting in my life. I looked at my diet and what I was putting into my body from a physical side of things. So I like to call this my water and my earth. The hydration that I'm putting into my body. You see, I'd got bad at not drinking enough water in the day. I was consuming a lot of coffee, caffeinated, and a lot of alcohol as well. And when I switched my thinking on this and realised that I needed to prioritise my actual hydration and what was going in, I started to focus on drinking just 2 litres of water per day, plus whatever else I was going to drink that day too. I cut out the caffeine and started having decaf coffee and green tea, but I also cut down massively on my alcohol consumption. And all of these combined, I started to feel just much clearer. I had much more mental clarity, and it just really helped me to feel fresh each day. And then onto the earth side of things. For me, this was really focusing on getting my fruit and vegetables in. Again, something I had been neglecting. I like to eat healthily, I always have, and a diet based on whole foods really is one of the best ways to go. But again, it can feel quite overwhelming to start with. There's so much to learn, so much to focus on. But I found the simplest and easiest thing to do is really just to try and get your 5 a day. Whether that's 5 fruits, 5 vegetables, a mix of the two, it really doesn't matter. But it's something quite simple and quite easy to achieve. I often have a bowl of Greek yogurt and fruit for breakfast, so I'll have some kiwi, some grapes, maybe some raspberries or blueberries in there. So I'm getting 3 portions, at the outset of my day. And then maybe perhaps for lunch I might have some tomatoes or some carrots, some pepper, some celery with my sandwiches. by the time we get round to tea, I've often smashed my 5 a day already, and then I'll often have broccoli or peas or perhaps another vegetable with my dinner. So I found it quite easy to build these 5 a day in just through a few simple dietary changes. And the difference it made to me was incredible. I just felt like I was so full of nutrition again. It was a very easy change to make, and a simple one. And I think it would really, really benefit you if your diet perhaps isn't up to scratch. Just focus on that. You don't need to change everything at once. And then finally, I came on to round out the elements. We've had water, we've had earth. The next for me was a habit of air. Getting fresh air, coming out for a walk, or just sitting in the garden, perhaps going for a run. All of these things are phenomenal for just refreshing your energy. You see, when we spend too much time cooped up indoors, it can really suppress us, and I find that it drains you in a way that you don't realise until you step outside and get some fresh air in your lungs. There's something about being outside, especially if you can get out into nature like I am here, that really, really just fills you up. It's great for your health, your mental health, your physical health, everything really. I don't think there's many things that you can do for your general well-being that are better than getting outside for 5 minutes per day. You see, that's all I did for a while. I would go out and have a poke round in my garden, or I'd go out for a quick walk around the block. But over time I again built that up because I realised how much I enjoyed it and how good it helped me to feel. But again, 5 minutes a day is absolutely fine for a start. You don't need to dive into going on a 2-hour long hike each day, getting your 10,000 steps or whatever. Just 5 minutes is absolutely fine. And finally, I came to realise there was still something missing from my life at this point. And that was the fire, the last of the elements. My creativity, my passion, my purpose. What was it? And it was something that I'd been missing. I'm quite a creative person naturally, I always have been, but I suppressed it and put it to the side over this period. But rediscovering my creative urges really helped to just fill me up with so much passion and energy again, that it really was the kind of final piece in the jigsaw to transforming my life. I started this YouTube channel as part of that creative venture because I just felt that I needed to be making things and to be creating again. And I think it's something that so many of us miss in our lives these days. We consume so much, and we're almost programmed to consume so much by the media, by just the way our world is set up. And that actually it can feel quite alien to start creating again. You feel like everything has to be perfect and polished, but it really doesn't. It can just be a simple doodle on a piece of paper, or writing a short story perhaps. Any of these things are just, it's a way of connecting with the world around us that nothing else really offers. It fills us up and gives us a sense of place as well. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need, you don't need to go and paint the next Mona Lisa. Just 5 minutes a day of doing something creative can really start to compound, and you'll notice your skills at whatever you're creating improve. But also it gets the creative juices flowing up here. It gets your mind unblocked. You stop focusing on all of the anxious and overthinking that's going on, and you start to have these creative ideas. You start to flourish again. And to me, it's so good. It was the piece of the jigsaw that I was missing. And so these 8 simple habits really did help me to transform my life. And if this is something that you feel that you need help with, then check out the link in the description to the Reset program. It's a 10-week course that I've put together that will guide you through each one of these habits, plus a couple of little secret bonus ones as well that I feel really add the icing on the cake. And it will walk with you as to how to implement them into your life, how to build them steadily over time, and you'll find that you can go through this same transformation that I went through. You can take yourself to this new, grounded, peaceful, calm, and happy person. So if that sounds of interest, as I say, the link's in the description, do check it out. I just really want to leave you with one final thought on habits. You see, I think for many of us, when we start something new, we start a new habit, we feel that it has to be perfect, and that, you know, if we're not completely optimized, if we don't know everything, if we don't put all of our energy, effort and time into it, then it's just not going to work. But I actually think the opposite of that is true. I think when you first start out with something new, taking small baby steps, starting with just 5 minutes per day, really is the best way to build consistency and momentum in your life. It stops you from burning out and just going around in a cycle of starting something, doing it for a couple of weeks, giving up because it became too much. You have to build slowly, consistently, brick by brick, day by day. And that's really what the Reset course is all about. It's about showing you how to put those bricks in day by day to build yourself up into the person that you want to be. Thanks ever so much for watching. I really do appreciate you sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, take care. God bless.